Anderson Casper here from Submission Radio with the newly married beefcake, Joseph Benavidez. Welcome to Melbourne. Tell us, first you get married, now you get to come to Melbourne, have a nice holiday. I mean, is this a continuation of the honeymoon in a lot of ways?
It pretty much is, yeah. Like, man, my life has literally been like a whirlwind. Like, not to forget, the week before my wedding, I fought a freaking tough Russian dude in a cage. So that was a hell of a week before, and obviously all the stuff leading up to that. And then got married, which that's a great, beautiful week of life. So that was just an epic 2 weeks of life in itself. Pulled it off. And, fighting 6 days before your wedding, I pulled it off nicely. But when I was done with it, I was like, man, that wasn't the smart thing to do. Like, why would anyone do that? Why didn't anyone tell me that wasn't a good idea? But, hey, man, like, pulled it off. And then even after that, we obviously went on the honeymoon, did this. So we already had this plan kind of as a second honeymoon, getting to come out here and experience stuff like this in a beautiful city and watch obviously some epic fights, without having to weigh in and do the training ourselves. So it's been an awesome time. Wife's down here as well working. So kind of is a little continuation, if you will.
The tough Russian you're talking about is obviously Ali Bagautinov, who you beat. You said it wasn't the wisest thing to do to fight 6 days before your wedding. Why? Why wasn't it wise? What was the hardest thing? Was it the food?
Oh, no. I mean, it was I made it wise and I made it okay. I just mean the possibility of things happening, like obviously a loss, like that would suck. That would damper a little bit of the happiness and everything. You know what I mean? And you want to obviously go into your marriage like, happy with nothing else bothering you, and that's how I want to do. That's why I wanted to fight before the wedding. I want to have anything lingering like a fight after. But just the fact that anything can happen, it's a freaking fight. You know what I mean? Like a loss, yeah, would suck, but there's a lot of other things that could go bad in there. Injuries, like people could get so physically hurt they couldn't make it to the wedding in the 6 days, and that's not stuff you think about going into it. Yeah. But afterward, I'm like, if someone like turned on the TV and watched me fight and they're like, what the hell, he's fighting, he's getting married in 6 days, what's he doing? Like I kind of thought that, like took a step back and thought about it. But like I said, I pulled it off, and then the wife was awesome. She never asked me or questioned the choice of taking the fight 6 days before. Just had the confidence in it, and like I said, once I pulled it off, it was just like, hell yeah, it was a great week.
Where's Benny the dog, Joseph? Because usually he's by your side at all times. We're imagining it's like Home Alone 5, except instead of Macaulay Culkin, it's Benny the dog sitting around making trouble. There's a couple of people trying to break in the house. He's setting up thumbtacks and hitting up the doorknob. Awesome. Is this what happens? Is that what he's doing right now?
Benny's actually staying at some of his friends' house for the week. He has some friends in there. Good group of guys, solid.
Not the dodgy ones out the back smoking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Solid guys to hang around with. Good group of fellas, and he goes and stays the week with them. And, he just lives it up. They have their own, like, swimming pool and everything. You know how kids are, teenagers. He stays up. They watch, whatever they watch on TV, probably jump on Instagram
Playboy
a little
channel,
bit.
try and get on that.
Yeah. Exactly. Instagram, all that stuff. So, he's just staying at his friend's house. And he knows, mom and dad are coming, putting food in the bowl. And, but we miss him, man. It's crazy. Like, every day, me and Megan are just like, God, I miss Benny. Pull up pictures of him on my phone, just like look at him, just like, I miss him, handsome little bastard. So yeah, it's definitely it's definitely bad.
Before we talk opponents, man, when do you want to fight again? How soon do you think we'll see you in the cage again?
I knew after I trained like so hard leading up to that fight with Ali Bagautinov, because it was about I fought in March or April against Moraga, and I never stopped training before that because I thought I was going to fight a lot sooner. So I just continued training, but that's also what I always do. So I didn't take time off. So that was such a long training camp. Like, it wasn't a training camp. It was just me training, and then I got a fight, and then I trained a little harder. So, I needed this break with the wedding, the honeymoon, this trip to Australia. But the fact that I knew this trip to Australia was going to happen, and I knew kind of the timeline where I knew I couldn't have anything set up before that. I wanted to enjoy the honeymoon, enjoy this. So now's about the time where I'm going to get on the phone, talk to Shelby, and say, hey, I have nothing else to do, no other trips planned. Get me a fight on the books and know when to fight. So, I'd be willing to fight, in the end of January, middle of January, there's a card. End of January, there's a card. Is anytime as late as February. It doesn't take me long to get back in, fight in shape and get ready. But, I'll admit, like, I wouldn't, I'm not, like, haven't been training as much as my fight as I usually would. I usually jump onto it, but, life happens and things happen. That's, that's what I had to do, so.
Now, Cejudo's fighting for Mega over at the tough finale over there. Are you sort of waiting to see what happens with that fight? It's going to be on November 21st. Possibly one of those two guys for the next opponent for the Beefcake. What do you think?
That would be sweet. I already beat Formiga, but, you know, I would love to give him a rematch, you know, especially if he goes and proves himself against a good opponent like Cejudo. I was already supposed to fight Cejudo, so I'm willing to fight him anytime. You know, I've already planned on fighting him. Like, I thought I was going to fight him on my last fight, and we were supposed to, so I'm willing to fight either of those guys, you know, depending on what the UFC would want to do. Like, obviously, I'm willing to fight whoever. You know, obviously the fight that I want and makes sense for me is always Mighty Mouse. Like, he's the guy ahead of me, and he's the guy that beat me. So, you know, without asking by default, that's who I want to fight next. But I also know that's not, you know, that's nothing I can control. The only way I can control it is by continuing to beat people, continuing to get better, continuing to train. And, you know, eventually the media, the fans, the bosses will all know, like, all right, that's going to happen again. And so that's what I see happening. Until then, everything else is just, you know, going in and getting better. So I'm willing to do that against whoever it takes. And it's been great so far. I've taken out some tough opponents in between the Mighty Mouse fight, so it's been good.
You've certainly had great wins since then, but when you look at, say, a situation like Miesha Tate, where she was promised a title shot, she was that close, and then they sort of went with someone else, and you've already fought Demetrious Johnson twice before. Is it worrying a little bit for you, or are you kind of like, ah, man, you know, I've already come up short twice?
Yeah. No, it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't really think of that because every fight's a new fight. You know what I mean? Just because you didn't, like, you know, hit a bench press on the first 2 times, you don't be like, oh, shit, I'm not going to do it again. You know what I mean? So it's not like that. I don't know why I use bench press. I haven't bench pressed in years. I just thought about that. Like, you know, you jump up on a box or something, and you're like, oh, I didn't get it that first time, but I'm going to try again. You know what I mean? So every effort and every opportunity, every fight is a new thing. So the other 2 doesn't matter. Like, what does that matter? That's a whole new thing. We're 2 totally different people. So the hard part is just making it logically make sense. And by doing that, the only way it can logically make sense is me continuing to just wipe out the division. But I also know me getting the fight isn't anything I can control. I can't just be like, I'm going to get that fight next. So, you know, I just try to get better, you know, on an everyday basis. And the situation is kind of hard for Miesha, who's very vocal about it. And then people maybe get annoyed or say she doesn't deserve it, or, you know, they just take her out of the title shot. Where with me, I'm a little on the other side of I just kind of go on, do my business, know I have to win. But it's like weird. If you do that, people are like, well, you need to be loud and you need to say you want the fight, or, you know, no one's going to give it to you, right? If you don't say you want it. But then when you say you want it, people are like, oh, well, you don't deserve it. You've already lost twice. You've already done this. Why would you get a second title fight? So just by default, no, obviously, like, I want to fight Mighty Mouse in the next fight, and I'll do whatever it takes. But I'm not going to be like, hey, I want to fight him after I already lost twice. But I'm also so I'm not also just going to be quiet. So it's just about doing whatever I can do, you know, in the meantime.
Final question, because we know you got to jump on a bus.
Yeah.
John Dodson, he's moving up to bantamweight. Many people are asking, will the Beefcake possibly move up to bantamweight? And also, second part to that question, would we ever see a Beefcake versus TJ Dillashaw fight? Because now that he's left the gym, there's a lot of people saying it's more possible that perhaps he fights some of the guys from Team Alpha Male.
Oh, yeah. Me moving up to bantamweight is probably not a thing right now. I mean, later in the career and stuff, I still have business to finish at flyweight, and that's where I want to stay. I love it. I feel like I've really built the division, like literally from the ground up. You know, it was the first title fight ever in the division with me and Demetrious, and it's something that I still want to continue to build, and there's still a lot of great, interesting fights out there, and I like it. That's why I feel comfortable right now. So I don't see myself moving to bantamweight unless, you know, at the end, you know, who knows, I get older and it gets harder to make weight. You know, I'm willing to do that too. As far as TJ, I still look at TJ as a teammate. You know, he's not on Team Alpha Male, but, you know, I will be training with him, helping him. I've already fought Cruz twice. I'll do everything I can do to help him. He's not on our team, but he's still, all right, so you wouldn't say he's a teammate, but he's still a teammate to me and a friend. So nothing changes besides him not training at the gym anymore, and that's something between him and Faber, you know, and the team or whatever, as far as being like exiled and not training Alpha Male anymore. But people don't realize he did that his last 2 camps, and we all still train together, and that's exactly how I'm treating this, is like, all right, he's not training with me every day, but he's still someone that I love and that I support, and that we've gone through a lot together, and that I'm going to help, and, you know, that he's helped me in the past. So he's still a teammate, you know, because at the end of the day, it is an individual sport. And individually, yeah, he's a friend and a teammate that I would help. I would hate for him and Uriah to fight each other, because then it would suck to help either of them. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Uriah, yeah, you have to beat TJ, or TJ, yeah, you have to beat Uriah. So, you know, whenever that happens, you know, that'll be weird. But as far as fighting him, no. And like I said, I still look at him as a teammate. I'm going to go train with him, you know, at some point, you know, before his Cruz fight anyway.
Well, we can't wait to see who you fight next, Joe. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy Melbourne.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.